We're kind of conditioned to think we're small, we're insignificant. One little thing, what we do, doesn't make any difference. And we can't change things. And the structures are solid. And we just have to try and not get crushed under them. And have to look on in horror as other people get crushed under them. And it's not true. It's not true. It's not true in lots of ways. There's so many examples in history of one person just going, no. And the huge difference that makes. But we're not all geared like that. We're not all configured like that. We don't find ourselves in a situation because that idea of, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something along the lines of, greatness is something that is thrust upon people. It's not like great men are cultivated or great women are cultivated or great people are cultivated. It's like they just find themselves in situations and then greatness just comes out of them. And we probably all have a bit of that in us. We just don't find ourselves in the situation. So what do you and I do? We're not wired to go and make the big protest. We're not, just like we're not wired to be rock stars or writers or sculptors or, everyone's configured in a different way. But we still see it and we still kind of go, that's terrible. That shouldn't be happening. That's awful. And what do we do about it? And if you're listening to me, you're probably interested in consciousness and what goes on behind the scenes. And you can make quite a big difference there. Because, and that's what this meme is kind of saying, you have to kind of act as if you can transform the world all the time. And you have to kind of get a little bit back from everything and go, what's really happening here? Am I just like, are things the way they appear? That's really what it comes down to. When you ask yourself, are things exactly the way they appear? Because the way they appear is there's just little me in this big planet with all these other people, and we're all the same, and everybody's having exactly the same experience as me, and from a frontal kind of approach, then it's the protesting, then it's the lobbying your politician and all this kind of thing to try and change things, or start an organization, or all the different wonderful things that people do. Or as well, you can come into what's really happening here. What's really happening here is I wake up into this thing every day. I wake up into this thing that looks very three-dimensional and real and deep, and it looks like there are other people. They tell me they're having similar experiences to me. We can communicate. But I only ever look out of these eyes. I only ever have my experience, just my direct experience. And that's not to become selfish or self-absorbed or anything like that, but just to kind of come back into what's your direct experience. And then kind of going, well, what if this was not as real as it looks? Then there's a deeper thing going on here, and maybe this is just tailor-made for me, and maybe I can change it. Maybe I can reorganize it into a way that I like, or that expresses who I am better. Now, how do I do that? And then your focus can be on the mechanics of what goes on inside, and how this is such a reflection of what's going on inside you, which can be, disappointing and depressing initially when you kind of go, this is a reflection of me. But it's all parts of you, because we all have unconsciousness in us. So yeah, it is a reflection of you, but you can change it. And that's why I'm interested in manifestation, and I encourage everybody to be interested in manifestation. Not for the gold toilet and the private jet, unless that's your thing, in which case, have at it. But it's like, if it's like the thing of the Matrix. People go, oh, it's all the Matrix, and they just trot out the Matrix. Regardless of whether they've seen the movie or not, they're like, oh, I'm going to break free from the Matrix. But if you really get into that, then it's like, okay, well, if you really think it's an illusion, then you can change it. You can bend the rules of it, and you can demonstrate to yourself that you can do that. And one of the ways you can do that is with manifestation. And I like manifestation because it's to do with money. You can't kid yourself about how you're doing with it. You either have more money or you don't. You can't kind of go, well, I'm feeling better about it. I'm feeling better about the money I have. That's a great thing. That's wonderful. And that's sort of actually tangentially, that helps you get more money, being grateful and happy with what you've got. But this idea of like, well, give you an example. A little manifestation thing is this idea of a money thermostat, which I had never heard of before, but you can have a look at this in your own experience. And it's the idea that we all have a money thermostat, meaning there's a certain amount of money that we will default to. And if it falls below it, we will bring it back up to it. And if we go above it, we'll bring it back down to it. So let's say your money thermostat is set to $1,000 or $100. It doesn't matter the amount. Let's say $1,000. If you kind of go along with a couple of $100 either side of 1,000, but most of the time it sort of stays at 1,000. If you somebody gives you $5,000, very quickly you will find bills, spend it, give it away, whatever, till it gets back to 1,000. And similarly, if for some reason you have an unexpected bill and it drops to 500, very quickly it'll come back up to 1,000. Have a look at your own experience. It's surprising, Now, for some people, it's $0. For some people, it's debt of, well, I can be 20 grand in debt, but no more than that, And if it starts to move, if I start to ease off my debt, it comes back, So sort of seeing that and going, oh, okay, I've got a bit of a thermostat. I've got a bit of a money thermostat. Then you can begin to slowly increase the thermostat. Because that's one of the things about changing reality is you kind of have to get used to it. You can't just suddenly, crank up your thermostat, for example, because that is changing your reality too much. And we have this kind of self-corrective thing inside us to do with orientation. It doesn't care about the content of things, meaning a thermostat's this. It only cares about where it's at. And this applies to everything to do with yourself and how you know yourself to be in your reality. If you change it too dramatically, like to do with money, the classic thing of people winning the lottery and very quickly they're back to where they were before. Or more similarly, people going on a very intensive 3-day personal development training. They have big cathartic releases and they're free and they're, and then within a month or two, they're back where they were. Now, that's nothing to do with, they want to have the shame back or they want to have the financial situation back. It's to do with orientation and to do with reality. It's actually a demonstration of how we create our reality, because we have to keep resetting back to where we are used to or what we are oriented with. So that's why growth, slow growth, is sustainable, and you can see it in nature. You don't put a seed in the unless you're Jack and the Beanstalk. You don't put a seed in the ground in the morning, and then the next morning you come out and there's a big tree there. It slowly grows, and it's like, in my one-to-one work with people and their health, we grow into ill health and we grow out of it. One of the things I have to help people a lot with is if you're in a lot of pain, you're like, I want the pain to stop now, but it's like, well, it took you 5 years to get to this point. I'm not saying it's going to take you 5 years to get out of it, but it won't just change overnight, or it could, but it'll snap back. But then if you do it slowly and grow into it, then, yes, then it'll be sustained and then it'll stay. So these are just like, that's why I'm saying manifestation is great, because you can, it's not to do with pain and whatever, but it's tangible and you can kind of grow into it. And then when these things accumulate, so you can start off with just money or something very tangible like that. And if you demonstrate it to yourself enough, it slowly means, okay, so maybe I could, maybe locally I could change it so that this kind of pollution thing that's happening, or this injustice thing that's happening, maybe that could improve. Maybe I could make it better, because I've grown into this confidence of, yeah, I can do that. So rather than kind of swinging for the fences, which is really kind of, it defeats the purpose, because you try for the big thing and fail, and then you go, well, that didn't work. It's much better to sort of hit the target you can hit. Like if you wanted to become a great archer, I used to do archery years and years ago. If you want to become a great archer, you don't start off trying to hit the 90-meter thing. I saw somebody posted this thing on the Olympics about, where the archers were shooting from, and then they kind of panned across to how far the target was away. And it looked to me like that's the 90-meter thing, because there's different distances that they move the target away. So you don't start off on the 90-meter thing, because I can remember when I used to do archery, you can start off at 18 meters. And that's not easy to hit, but after a while you can hit it, and then you can hit the bullseye pretty good. And then you qualify to the next distance, which is, I think it was 30 meters. And then you're missing everything again. You're sort of off target. You're not even hitting not even hitting the target. But then after a while, you figure it out and you come on to, and you're getting good at 30, and then you qualify. I think to qualify, you have to get a certain amount of points at that distance. And then you go to 50 meters. And then it's the same again. The further away it gets, the harder it is. And I can remember qualifying from 50 to 70, just 70. I don't think I ever qualified to 90. And it was hugely different, Like you'd think it's only 20 meters, it's not that big, But no, it made a huge difference. I was completely missing everything again. And 90, I think I had a go at 90 a few times. And I lost too many arrows. So, but we do that. Like we kind of go, that's it, I'm going to win the lottery, or I'm going to get a brand new Lamborghini or a gold toilet or whatever, I'm going to buy a house or whatever. And then it doesn't work, and we're like, oh, well, this manifestation thing is rubbish, And you can say this about anything, like how you build confidence is you bring the target really close, so close that you are, you're like 90% sure, 80% sure you're going to hit it. And then you do that, and you do it enough times, and then you kind of go, yeah, okay. And now maybe I'll move it back a meter, not 20 meters, just a meter. And then I hit that target repeatedly, and I get confident at that. And then I move it back a little bit further, and so on. That's how you do it. So this idea of swaggering around, and I encourage you to swagger around, swaggering around as if you can radically change the world, is a great place to start, and a great way of meeting life and meeting all the things that don't reflect you. Because if something disturbs you, if you look at injustice, if you look at savagery and violence and you go, what? That's awful, that's terrible, I feel for those people. The only way you can feel that is if you have it in you, if some part of you acknowledges that you've got this love inside you, that you've got this passion for justice and fair treatment and all the lovely things, that's in you. So if it's in you, then you're kind of going, no, I'm just not, this reality thing, which I create, it doesn't reflect me. So I'm going to swagger around as if I'm changing it. And that informs you, that empowers you to both change things behind the scenes, but it also informs your actions and what you do in your reality as well. And you are very powerful, and you can make change it to reflect the sweet, lovely nature that you are outside.